Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever had that feeling where you're doing, absolutely everything right? You're putting in the work, planning every little detail, but life just isn't cooperating? Man, it can be incredibly frustrating. But what if, and hear me out on this, what if fighting for control is exactly the thing holding you back? Today we're diving into this fascinating ancient Chinese philosophy all about reaching the celestial state. And look, this isn't about just throwing your hands up and giving up, right? It's actually about discovering how radically accepting life's totally unpredictable nature can become your ultimate strategic advantage. We're going to look at some mind-blowing historical examples and some timeless wisdom that completely reframes how we look at success and failure. Okay, let's dive into this. We've got this brilliant metaphor straight from a classic text called the Cold Kiln Prose poem. Think about a centipede. It's got 100 legs, right? So on paper, it seems like it should be the absolute fastest bug out there. And a rooster, it's got wings, so you naturally assume it commands the sky. But the reality is entirely different and, frankly, kind of absurd when you really think about it. That centipede, it absolutely cannot outpace a snake, which literally has 0 legs. And the rooster cannot fly a crow. This immediately hits us with a big truth. Raw, inherent attributes just don't guarantee outcomes. Sometimes what looks like a massive advantage is just completely irrelevant to the actual circumstances you find yourself in.
Which brings us to Section 1, Life's Unpredictable Fortunes. And this brilliantly illustrates a harsh, but honestly, universal truth from the text. The heavens can bring devastating storms just as easily as they bring out the beautiful sunshine, right? And human fortunes? They operate the exact same way. Just look at the extreme irony of legacy here. You have Emperor Yao, who is famously wise, deeply revered, literally a paragon of virtue. Yet, his son turned out to be completely dissolute and unworthy. Now contrast that with Gu Sao. He was considered foolish, incredibly stubborn, and physically blind. But guess what? He sired the great filial sage Shun. It's wild. Profound wisdom doesn't guarantee a great legacy, and apparent foolishness doesn't prevent one. Life simply doesn't follow some neat, predictable mathematical formula.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, the wisdom of the ancients.
So if you ever catch yourself thinking that you're smart enough or maybe virtuous enough to just outmaneuver fate, well, history has a very humbling lesson for us. Even the absolute smartest, most capable minds in human history were entirely at the mercy of their timing. Let's consider 2 absolute titans. Confucius, literally the epitome of human wisdom. Yet there was a time he was severely constrained, actually trapped in the state of Chen, totally unable to implement his profound ideas. Or take Zhang Ziya. We're talking about one of the most brilliant military strategists to ever live, right? But he spent a huge chunk of his life just fishing by the Wei River. And here's the thing. They both faced these periods of severe inaction, not because they lacked ability, no way. It was simply because the circumstances and the timing just weren't right yet.
We actually see this crazy disconnect between merit and outcome all over the text. Take Yanyuan, a man of immense virtue and genuine goodness. You'd think the heavens would reward a guy like that with a nice, long life, wouldn't you? But instead, he met a tragic, really untimely end. Meanwhile, you've got Dao Ji. This guy was a notorious, completely unrighteous bandit, and he lived a long, full life despite all his terrible deeds. It's a pretty stark reminder that cosmic justice doesn't always line up with our human timeline. Being good just does not automatically equate to living a long time.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it speaks directly to our modern obsession with talent. Look at Li Guang. He was famous for his absolute prowess in slaying tigers, a literal legendary warrior. Yet, he reached old age without ever receiving a proper title or rank. Then there's Feng Tong. The man was blessed with extraordinary, rare talent, but he lived his entire life without ever getting properly recognized. The big takeaway here? Without the proper time and fortune, even immense talent and massive human effort can amount to absolutely nothing.
That takes us to Section 3, the beggar and the official.
Instead of comparing different people, let's look at the insane contrasts of fortune that can happen within just a single person's lifetime. It really proves how dramatically fate can pivot, for better or worse. Take the famous historical figure Han Xin. His trajectory is just wild. I mean, he started out literally starving. He endured these long stretches where he could barely scrape together 3 meals over several days. But then, boom, his timing shifted. He reached his absolute peak, holding the Jade Seal of Command, wielding supreme military power over an entire empire. But the roller coaster didn't stop there. When his luck eventually turned, he fell victim to treachery and met a really tragic end. It's the exact same man, experiencing the absolute extremes of what life can throw at you.
And the author of our text experienced a breathtaking pivot himself. He actually started out living in Luoyang, seeking shelter in this broken-down kiln at night, literally begging for food by day. He was cold, starving, and pretty much despised by everyone. And it wasn't because he lacked worth. It was just his circumstances at the time. But when the wheel of fortune finally turned for him, wow, he became a high court official with immense power, disciplining hundreds of officials. He went all the way from rags to possessing thousands of boxes of silk and eating these exotic delicacies.
Reflecting on that incredible journey from a broken kiln to the highest court, the author shares this profound realization. He says, "This is not solely of my own doing, it is the result of time, fortune, and destiny." Man, that is a deeply humbling perspective. It tells us that incredible success, much like devastating failure, isn't just some simple calculation of your personal merit or how hard you hustled. It's deeply, deeply intertwined with time and destiny.
So, let's get into Section 4, Defining True Adaptation.
So if we really can't control our destiny, what do we actually do? This is where we pivot from the problem of unpredictable fate to the profound philosophical solution provided in the text. So the crucial point is this concept of the celestial state. But what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it means accepting life exactly as it unfolds. It means letting your relationships evolve naturally, according to fate. It means acting in accordance with your true nature and, yeah, absolutely seizing opportunities as they arise, but doing so without all that ego, without selfishness, and without heavy emotional attachment to the outcome. This right here is the true mindset of adapting to circumstances.
To actually live in this celestial state means embracing life's ironies. And it's highly practical stuff. If you're given a lavish banquet, you enjoy it. But if you only have sweet potato soup, you savor it without a single complaint. If you find yourself living in a frozen tundra, you survive without resenting the cold. It means wanting to be in Rome but finding yourself stuck in New York and still being cheerful about it. Think about your own life for a second. How do you react to your own unmet expectations? Can you remain calm if you feel plain while the people around you are handsome and graceful? Or if you're struggling financially while others are born into super affluent families? That, my friends, is the true test of adaptation.
And this extends perfectly to how we view others too. True adaptation means you can watch the people around you build these grand mansions, drive flashy luxury cars, walk the red carpets, become world famous, and you can observe the whole shebang without feeling a single ounce of envy. You don't lose your inner peace over it. You don't feel the need to unduly admire them, but you also don't resent them. Your heart remains entirely composed and totally unmoved by it all.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the power of contentment.
Now, it is absolutely vital to understand that accepting your situation and adapting to your circumstances is not about giving up, okay? It is definitely not passive defeat. It's actually a highly active, totally empowering state of being. Let's move to and see how this builds in 3 steps. Step 1 is unshakable contentment. By accepting exactly where you are, you establish a solid, stable base. Your mind isn't scattered, it's undisturbed. Step 2 is patient learning and waiting. Because your mind is clear and totally free from envy or panic, you can dedicate all that energy to accumulating knowledge and improving yourself. And step 3, seizing the opportunity. When the heavens finally favor you and the timing aligns, you are completely prepared to ascend to that higher realm. Contentment isn't a trap, it's the launch pad.
The text uses a really great metaphor here, waiting for the ugly duckling to transform into a swan. It's a powerful reminder for all of us not to rush things. Seriously, do not desperately seek out shortcuts, and above all, don't give up on your efforts just because the timing isn't right quite yet. Real, lasting transformation, it requires that magical combination of solid preparation and patient perseverance.
I want to share this incredibly beautiful concluding wisdom straight from the text. It says, "When the melon is ripe, it falls from the vine, and when the water flows, a channel is formed." I love that. It perfectly reinforces everything we've been talking about today. Those who attain this celestial state, they don't try to force the melon off the vine before it's ready. They simply put in the effort, they do the work, and then they follow the natural, effortless flow of life.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question straight from the core of today's explainer. Are you exhausted from constantly fighting the current of your life? Or are you finally ready to adapt, embrace your circumstances, and let the water naturally form your channel? Next time things don't go your way, remember the centipede, remember the wise emperors, and see if you can step into your very own celestial state. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.